Shame and guilt can trap us in these self-punishing and self-sabotaging loops for years if we don't find the origin. Now, I'm going to give you some very effective ways to begin to clear these emotions, but first it's very important to understand like where they come from and how they develop so that we can find them. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story and I want you to follow along and see if you can relate to not so much the specifics, but emotionally how things like shame and guilt have developed for you in similar situations. Now, I was 25 years old and I was a drug addict, okay? And I was standing out on the street corner waiting for these two guys to return with the drugs I had sent them to get for me. Now, in order to get the money that I gave them, I pawned my Les Paul. I don't know if you know what a Les Paul is, but it's a really good guitar. It's the same guitar that Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin had. This had been a gift that was given to me when I was 12 years old. I had to sneak it out of my parents' house. I put it in these strangers' car. They drove me to a pawn shop, and I got $600 cash for it. I gave it to them because they apparently knew this dealer who had really good stuff, and I wanted to get really high and with a bit of money, and I was only usually getting like $20 to $40 every day. Now, before they went to score, they gave me this excuse that many addicts will give somebody, and that was that I couldn't go with them because the dealer didn't know me. And sometimes that's true. And I was like, okay, well then, go and bring it back. And I remember they looked at me and they're like, okay, do you want one of us to stay here and wait with you? And I was like, no, that's okay. Just go and come back. And one of them looked at me and was like, are you sure? And I was like, yeah, no, I'm sure. Just go and bring it back and I'll be waiting here. Well, lo and behold, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes goes by and they haven't come back. So I think this was, I don't think I had my cell phone at the time, and this was in the days of the payphone. So I ran to a payphone and I called them and they didn't answer, right? I called them again, they didn't answer. And then I realized, fuck, they scammed me. And obviously, who didn't see this coming? And I felt like such an idiot. I mean, I already felt so ashamed because I'd sold the guitar, and I felt sad because it was important to me, and I was just desperate. And I was really frustrated and disappointed because I wanted to get high, and I was angry. I was just so pissed off. But I also felt like an idiot for falling for this. I felt like a stupid piece of shit for being scammed. So why do you think I let them do this? Just because I was a sucker and I was dumb? I mean, that's a reasonable answer. But it's deeper than that. There were two primary reasons that I let them do this. One was because, yes, I was naive and too trusting. And I could very easily form a judgment about that and just be like, oh, I'm dumb, or I wasn't street smart. But that doesn't do anything but keep me in the shame and punishment cycle. So what's a better way to see it? And what's actually the truth? I was just very kind of pure and innocent. And even in my addiction, even when I was lying and stealing and manipulating, some part of me knew that I was actually a really good person. And I probably wouldn't have ever ripped someone off like that. So I didn't think other people would do it to me. And then the second reason I allowed them to drive off with me waiting there like a dumbass was something very simple. And it was just because I was an introvert. All this shame for being stupid, really at the root was because I was introverted. I didn't want to stand on a street corner for 15 minutes with some person I just met trying to come up with something to say. So I was just like, fuck it, just go and come back. I'm too fucking nervous. Because in retrospect, subconsciously, like when the guy asked me, like, are you sure? I did pick up on that. I didn't really think that he would do that. I really didn't. But I also was almost willing to just roll the dice so that I didn't have to stand there for like 20 minutes with either of these guys trying to talk to them. And can you see how when we begin to understand the deeper reasons for things, there's not as much to be ashamed of as we think. So what are 3 things that you can do to begin to unravel your guilt and your shame for experiences you've had and decisions you've made? Well, the first one is to reframe it as I just did. Look for where the decision originated. Look for the good part of yourself, the innocent part of yourself that the decision came from. Even being an addict. Just the basic shame of being an addict usually comes from just being sensitive and being in pain and having trauma and wanting to feel better. That's not anything to really feel guilty or ashamed about. Some of the things we do, yeah, but when you understand that's the root, it makes a big difference. Now, the second thing that you can do to unravel the shame is to begin to identify it. Begin to notice when you feel shame. You might be standing, in a supermarket talking to somebody, and all of a sudden all this shame comes up. Where is that coming from? Is it being triggered by something the person said? Is it because you're getting too close to them and you're kind of ashamed of sharing yourself with them? Just begin to notice that it's there and begin to question the origin. And the third thing you can do is talk about it. Shame is an emotion that grows in the dark. And just voicing that we have it with someone that we trust, you want to be discerning, you don't just want to tell anyone, starts to take it away. Because I found, working with myself, working with other people, there are so many things that our egos believe are unique and specific to only us, that almost everyone else is going through. Same thoughts, same emotions, same experiences. And when you just start to talk about it, 1, it gets it off your chest, and 2, you get to see that you're not alone in it. Now, if you're interested in learning more about healing the shame from trauma and addiction, I have a video called The Trauma is Part of the Process, Not a Mistake, that you can check out. I also would like you to let me know in the comments section, what revelations or breakthroughs you had from watching this. Thank you.